But do you know why you sin? Yeah, because you do without God. Because sin is really a moral, it's a moral insulting to God. A moral, not moral, an immoral way of living that insults God, your creator. Which it's so interesting that you talk about sin, because everybody that's run around and said repent, before they added sorrow and remorse to the word repent, and they didn't add it until the 11th century in France. It actually, the word repent means creeping along the ground. Sort of like what in the Garden of Eden God said would happen to the serpent, well, said would happen to, Satan after he deceived Eve. What did he say? What did God say would happen? You will slither on the ground for the rest of your days. That's what we are before we're saved, is that mentality, creeping on the ground. Mindless, not caring about a higher power, about God, not caring about any of that. All these people talk about, the reptile-like thinking. That's the reptile thinking. That's the bondage people are in until they realize that there's nothing they can do. There's nothing your works can do that will make God happy. Not until after you say what makes him the happiest the most, which is why he does so much work in AA, is because people give up. They give up. Not give up on life. They give up they give up everything and just, I don't know how to do it anymore. That's when his greatest miracles take place, is when you give up. I mean, there's nothing I've learned more than that and the ego with AA, is the surrender, and how the ego is a block. It stands in the way of God truly being able to transform our mind and our heart, which is why with the alcoholic, with the absolute broken, God does great miracles with those people, because they're so broken, and there's no medicine, there's no drug, there's no church that's going to put them back together. It's God himself, and that's what he does. But there's a reason why them going to the Christian church, going to the pastor or the priest, it never helps. But somehow the steps do. Why? Because that's the way God wanted it done. We don't start out by repenting. But repenting originally meant creeping. It meant creep. Crawling on, the ground. So after the original sin, we all became like, crawling on the ground. The reptile mind-like thinking, tied to bondage, thinking our will, thinking in our own eyes that we're good. And the alcoholic, even though they think it's a curse, ends up being their greatest blessing if they, hit a bottom hard enough to where it's like, I've made a total, there's nothing I can do. I mean, the harder the bottom is that you hit, the greater the miracle is that God performs, if people relinquish their power and give it to God. The thing is, I never understood people that, have such an issue with turning their will in their life, especially alcoholics that like to fight, that step with turning your will and your life over to God. It's like you've been turning your will and your life over to the alcohol for years and years and years and years and years. So I think you can handle turning your will and your life over every day to God. It's, I mean, that's what I would say to every atheist. And again, there's atheists and agnostics that do get saved in AA, because I've seen it. I mean, I've seen it a couple times happen. But for the atheists that want to whine and complain that they hate that God's in it, it's like, but you have a God when when you're drinking. So to act like that you don't serve a master is ridiculous for the atheist. I mean, like it lacks common sense. It's like you want to claim you're an atheist, yet you literally have made the master alcohol if they're an alcoholic. And then you want to bitch and complain about the AA steps because it says to turn your life over to God when you have had a God the whole time. It's called alcohol. That's all that reptile-like thinking. It's all that creeping thinking. So when Jesus said, repent, and literally the original meaning of repent, and it's still the meaning, it means creep or creeping on the ground. He wanted us to recognize that, and that's what happens to the alcoholic, recognize you can't do it. There's nothing you can do to fix this. Only I can fix it. And then take you from being creeping on the ground to the full human being that I created you in the garden to be before the original sin.